Hi and welcome back to Classic MGB. Now, over the years there's been lots of films and other media all about MG, and we're always on the hunt for interesting stuff that we can share with our viewers. It's really fascinating looking back on some of this archive material, and the film included in this video was produced by British Leyland Motors Incorporated in the United States, mainly targeted at dealers. So let's take a look.
The home of the MG division of British Leyland is in Abingdon-on-Thames, a little over an hour northwest of London and about 8 miles south of Oxford. It's a lovely and ancient town. The abbey, which gives the town its name, was founded in the 7th century. It's mentioned in the Domesday Survey of 1086. It was a major market town consistently from then on, and the market's been held on Mondays ever since 1328. Henry VIII dissolved the abbey. Cromwell's Commonwealth troops destroyed the market cross. Sam Pepys attended a fair, dancing and singing till supper. Christopher Wren influenced the design of the county hall. But it was the Morris garages which made Abingdon known all over the world. Since 1929, MG has been very much an integral part of the town, as Abingdon's mayor confirms.
We're very proud. There is a mark consciousness throughout the town. Well, it's our factory.
The factory nestles quite cozily between a Baptist chapel and cemetery and the Pavlova Leather Works. It's also surrounded by a good deal of very desirable residential real estate.
The area where the factory is, most of the people live really close by, sort of a lot of it's sort of family upon family, coming in, and, we see a lot of this, the same type of people. When people do come here, they tend to stick, they just don't seem to want to move. In fact, it seems a bit more like one big happy family, I suppose.
I been in Abingdon all my life. We're one of the oldest families in the town, going back generations. And I wouldn't leave here either. I love this town.
I go home, but not for lunch. I don't eat during the day. I've got a dog at home, so I go home, let her out in the field for about half an hour, then come back to work. It's very nice and quiet. Field at the back, no houses, no buildings.
No, it's a wonderful old town now, and I wouldn't leave here. Not likely. Home is home.
I live in Sunningwell, it's a little village, about 2 miles away. It takes me a quarter of an hour exactly, in my car.
I can be here in 3 minutes, 4 minutes anyway. Don't take long. No, I come by bike. Easier by push bike. I can be home by the time they get in the car at the car park.
With such a large percentage of workers living so close to the plant, the bicycle comes into special favor as a commuter's vehicle. Noon hour provides startling evidence of its popularity.
Yeah, well, I've got another brother here that works here, and also got my son, which has just started here, so it's getting quite a family concern. He's called a shop boy, and he covers the whole of the trim deck floor. He's been here 3 weeks, he's quite happy. So, but he got a long way to catch my 19 years up, hasn't he? Well, I know pretty well nearly everybody in here. We've got a few younger ones coming in, but most of the men that's been here, the older year ones, I know pretty well all of them.
My mother, she works in the canteen. Oh, about 12 years, I think.
We've got another foreman over the other side, a fellow named Mansell. I think he's got 3 sons floating around in here. And at one time, the works manager and the works manager's brother and his brother, we used to have about 5 brothers working. It's the devil you know, then the devil you don't. Ray Moran, his son works putting the engines in and sort of on line D.
I'm not very good at talking. Well, I fit the gearbox and the earth tag, and the bracket below that. That's for the exhaust.
What are you working on?
The midget engine.
The midget and MGB lines basically run parallel through the factory. First, along the upper level where the body components are installed, then onto the lower level where the engine, drive train, and running gear are fitted. Tool bending, subunit assembly, engine and gearbox preparation, Outside parts inspection or modification are all offline tasks which are performed in separate areas, with an efficient flow pattern established to keep the track adequately supplied.
Just filling the engine with oil, putting a reverse light switch on, putting the adapter switch for the water hosing on, checking the oil nuts, putting the exhaust bolts on in all of the carburetor linkages, and that's it.
Assembling the steering rack, and it goes from here upstairs, and it's assembled then on the car again. I work in the stores. I take all the exhaust systems out and the various articles. I bring them to the line, yeah, all lines. Bees, midgets, the lot. I've got a cousin here, yeah, he's on the stacker truck over there. And my father was here, my uncles, you know, a lot of us been here. My brother was here. I've been in the stores now for roughly about 6 years. I was on the line when it was the old Bees and the Austin Healey 3000. I've been on them all, 27 years.
Incidentally, Frank Ford, the chief planner for BMC, said that at MG they build one car per person per week, from Thornley on down to the office boy. And all they've got in the way of mechanical equipment is the wheelbarrow.
I am making the bracket, the exhaust pipe, and this is it, complete. And then it goes out onto the line, and the man on the line fits it actually in the car. And perfect job. Dickie, that's the chap in the overalls. He is making the front console, putting in the dials. The other chap, Taff, he is putting in the heater control, and then he passes it on to Percy, and Percy puts in the cigarette lighter, and he also puts the cable that attaches to the heater, and then we're finished with it then. It goes out onto the line. Again, it's fitted by hand. All the cars are pushed along the line and all that. We've got no mechanical means in that respect. We put everything on one at a time, and we find we get a much better result that way, and we get a better product. We're also more, how shall I say, we're more interested in the job in that way, because we can see what's going on.
Besides that, they've generated an atmosphere which is extremely rare in modern industry and probably unique in the realm of automobile assembly. For not only are the rates of turnover and absenteeism amazingly low, but the idea of working at MG appeals to workers of a very high standard of capability and aptitude.
I mean, at one time you couldn't get into MG. There was never a job there. The only way you could get in is if your dad worked there, and he used to get you in, you know.
We've got on pretty well with the bosses, really. We try to work together. I worked very well with my foreman. We've had our ups and downs, we've had our arguments, but we sort out what we can between us. I can't remember the last strike we had here. Since I've been here, we've never had a strike. As the American said, these cars are hand-built and you can't beat them.
Assembly procedures, schedules, and sequences are incredibly complex and vary with each type of car depending upon a multitude of factors. In addition, each individual car has its own body and upholstery colors, domestic, U.S. federal, or California specifications, as well as other options or special orders. All this information is codified and assigned to a particular body shell, then monitored and checked at several key points throughout the assembly procedure. The bodies are delivered to Abingdon pre-painted and with their tops. They're lifted from their transporters by hoist and placed on individual trucks, which are then pushed into the factory and down the assembly line one by one.
When the car comes in, the first thing to do is to get the bonnet top off the car completely, put it in racks, because putting the engine and the servos and all the application that goes towards building up the engine, to put that in without any damage. And not only that, with all the overhead gear that it has to go along the line, it would be touching anyway.
It may be confusing, but remember, when an Englishman talks about a bonnet, he means the hood. If he starts talking about a hood, what he's referring to is the top.
The hood's sort of just folded back, so as the men can get in and fit the steering, handbrakes, and all the, the instrument panels and all the rest of it.
We've got 14 men that we give 16 minutes in the morning personal time and 9 minutes in the afternoon. That is their personal time. I've just got to do their schedules while they're away. That's a bit of a job to sack, taking the bonnet off, fitting the front bumper, trimming, fitting the windscreen wipers, carpeting, tapping. It's so involved that, each sort of job is full of little jobs, that you can't. Fitting the headlights is another one we do. Fitting the crash valve. That's about it, sort of down on my section. I have to do a bit of rectifying, before the car comes on the line. If you see a job that isn't on your schedule, that something's wrong, usually call the foreman up and tell him, you see. If it's a big job, then they put it on the inspection card.
This whole area is termed the trim deck. Although it incorporates many other operations, and most of the actual trimming is done at the end of this section. At the completion of trimming, after upholstery, carpets, logos, and so on have been fitted, the bodies from all lines are manually pushed across a kind of freewheeling area over to the hoists above the lower floor of the factory.
Well, we bring the cars across here, and we bring the sling back up here and swing it in, and then sling the car, leave it as it is now, whereupon the people down below, then when they require it, they take it back over and drop it down onto the line, where it then goes on for its other operations. But when they go down there, it's the back axles, the front axles, and the petrol tanks are fitted down there.
Midget bodies are dropped onto their rear suspensions and have their front suspensions built up on the car. The front end of the MGB is built up separately and delivered to the line at body drop.
It takes a while to learn the job. You must take your time. Up to a point, you've got 3 minutes, 60 seconds to do the job in. But when you're working on it, you have to do it faster. You work with, the other chaps. So you learn the job, it takes you anything up to 2 months to actually learn the job itself. Then you increase your speed. I'm waiting to go on to what they call sick relief. This is where you have to learn about 60 jobs, different jobs. And when a chap goes on his 15 minutes release or he's out sick, you take over his job. You don't get paid any more for it, but it's a change. It helps you to learn more about the car itself.
Complete engine transmission assemblies arriving from separate areas are loaded into the engine compartment at this stage. Drive shafts are added and connected to the differential. The bodies are then lowered to a track near the floor level, where they can be pushed from stage to stage on their own wheels.
Now I do my own inspection here, but when it goes out on the line and the chap fits it on the line, there is what they call a line inspector, and they're placed so far along the lines. Their job is to inspect it again. And therefore, at the end of the line, you should get a perfect car.
We inspect the engine and all the electrics.
The final inspection is the last event before the engine is actually started up and the car test driven. It's a very thorough operation. After that, most cars are comprehensively tested on the new rolling road test stand. But about 10% are selected for an extended road test. Although quality control prefers standardized procedures, the Abingdon temperament demands the reassurance gained by a thorough, real-life drive through the English countryside. Following that, it's back to the scientists at the especially designed new pollution testing laboratory. Every car receives the basic analysis of exhaust gases, and all California cars, as well as 2% of all federal standard U.S. cars, undergo a complete volume sample test, which is the analysis of all exhaust gases collected while the car is run for a specified warm-up period. The final operation is preparation for shipment to the United States. The car is especially coated to resist the corrosion of the salt air on their Atlantic crossing and stored to await shipment. MGs made their reputation nearly 50 years ago. They first became really popular in the United States after World War II and have continued to produce landmark cars ever since. The Midget, with its strong heritage, continues to serve the sports car traditions with honor. It has its own competition class and utilizes the race-proven four-cylinder engine, which delivers up to 34 miles per gallon on the highway and 22 miles per gallon in the city. Standard running gear includes a 4-speed synchromesh transmission, rack and pinion steering, and front-wheel disc brakes. Thanks to MG's insistence on staying in touch with basics, it remains the least expensive authentic sports car in the world. The MGB has come in for considerable improvement. The body, made of the heaviest gauge steel, has even greater intrusion resistance, with the doors receiving new internal structural engineering. The suspension has been fine-tuned for greater stability with anti-roll bars front and rear. The entire control system has been subjected to an integrated updating. A smaller diameter 4-spoke steering wheel is combined with a lower geared rack to provide superior control, lighter steering, and more interior space. Wiper controls, headlamp, and directional switches are now incorporated in control stalks mounted on the steering column, and the overdrive switch is an integral part of the shifting knob, a most natural placement consistent with adjustments in foot pedal layout. The soft top offers a zip-out rear window for full flow-through ventilation, even while providing protection from the elements. A stable community, a sense of commitment to the job, a very close association with one's peers, and a strong sense of pride in the finished product have combined at Abingdon to produce classic cars of unsurpassed integrity and world renown. With traditions like that, and with cars like these, it's easy to understand the pride of Abingdon.
So there you go. Sadly, just 3 years after this film was produced, the factory was closed, marking the end of MG production at Abingdon. Interesting that they never produced a Pride of Longbridge film. I wonder why. If you've enjoyed the video, we'd really appreciate it if you give it a like, share it with anyone that's interested, and also subscribe to the channel because it really helps that YouTube algorithm get our content to new viewers. Also, we love reading the comments. We try to respond to everyone personally, so do please let us know what you think. As always, many thanks for watching and take care.